Hello world, WayofTime here, bringing to you another Blood Magic developer commentaries. So recently I have released something that many people would find very interesting, and it was a big upcoming feature that I decided that, well, let's just say this. Blood Magic tries to add ultimate power at ultimate sacrifice. That's one of the main ideas and ideals even I tried to strive for when trying to make my mod. So, how best to do that? The best way to do it would be to infuse yourself with a demonic soul and basically go very crazy powerful. So, what I bring to you is Project Omega. Project Omega basically attempts to convert your armor, your bound armor, puny bound armor here, into a much stronger variant. What it attempts to do is bring a lot of energy into your armor and fuse your armor with yourself. So, bound armor, as many people know, there's a demon soul attached to it when you create it with the Soul Armor Forge. When that lightning comes down, it fuses a demon soul into the armor. So to go to your next stage of evolution, you need to further strengthen that demon soul by attaching it to your own human soul. This makes it very powerful, however it also adds a few drawbacks as well. This energy is rather volatile, and you need a lot of it in order for you to stay in such a dangerous form. So, let's talk about how we actually get into Project Omega and what it actually entails for your survivability. So the first thing you're going to need to do is you're going to need to create yourself a new ritual diviner. This needs to be able to place dusk and dawn runes. Dawn runes, if I can make myself a bit of stuff. So let's get our ritual stones and our dawn inscription tool, elemental inscription tool dawn. If we check this, we can see that there is a new ritual stone. So dawn inscription tools are made by using glowstone inside of a tier 6 altar. So you need to be able to have completed demon invasion and get all the crystal clusters required in order to make that. So what you need to do is go to Symmetry of the Omega and obviously lay out your ritual in the correct fashion. So once properly laid out, you have a nice ritual here. This ritual is basically a baseline. It's telling you basically the area in which you're supposed to work with. You're infusing the elements of water, earth, fire, and air, and spiraling them all into the center point here, controlling it with the dusk stones, yes. However, the dawns add that little extra twist in order to seal everything in. Next, you're going to need to make a structure out of this. Now, to encapsulate all the power, all you need to basically do is make an area out of the stone, out of any sort of material. It doesn't matter as long as it's a solid material. What I'm doing right now is just using stone as a bit of a baseline. Maybe we can get some glass, make it all pretty like, ugh, man, I need to learn English. Shush, it's too late in order to do this. Anyways, put some glass on it, make it nice and pretty. But the key thing is to make sure all of the sides are covered so that there's basically no escape from this. Now you're also going to need your energy, so if we were to use something a little fun, let's use Aquasalis as our energy. Simple energy source using 4 bell jars right in the open corners. And then we'll seal ourselves in. So, in order for this to activate, you need to have the block above the Master Ritual Stone. It needs to make sure that it does not escape from the chamber. It has a radius of 5. Then you activate it, with your Awakened Activation Crystal. It consumes 15 million LP, and then BAM! Lightning strikes, and now you have entered into Project Omega. Don't need this anymore. You can see there are two bars on the side. You have your reagent bar, which basically is your timer while you're in the Omega state. As you can see, my bound armor has changed into the water variant of the Omega armor. And also I have the water Omega helmet, Omega plate, the Omega leggings, and the Omega boots. And you can see that this also bestows upon me extra attack damage and extra health, as well as amphibian and water breathing. Amphibian basically clears up some of the visuals that are in water, so you can see it is much more clear than normal. And yeah, so you also notice that, as I said, there's a reagent bar here. It acts as your timer. So you have to have this active for to stay in Omega. This armor has a time limit, so the 15 million LP goes into very powerful armor that only lasts a certain amount of time. You also notice that there's a bar slowly filling up here. This is a secondary HP gauge. If I were to go up here and get myself out of game mode 1, it takes from that bar instead and damages the HP bar instead of your HP bar. And then it slowly fills up again. So it acts as a secondary HP bar that will protect you from more damage. Now if you attempt to remove any piece of this armor, a bunch of things happen. If you take it off, your armor reverts instantly, and you no longer have the extra HP bar, nor the extra reagent bar. If you try to put any of them on, it'll revert back as well. So you cannot mix or match different types of Omega armor. You can't really take it off. You could use an armor stand if you get all of the pieces off right away, but that's not going to really help much, because this is supposed to be an armor that you bring it into battle when you really need something to give you an edge. So obviously a simple rectangle isn't the best type of chamber that you can have. It was small, cramped, just has glass, you have to break in, etc., etc. Now the name of the game with making a reaction chamber, I like to call this the Omega reaction chamber, is you need to maximize the surface area of the chamber. So having a small little box in here is not going to give you much surface area. In fact, it's going to only give 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12 sides per layer, which doesn't really help. So what this chamber actually does is it takes an air block here and expands it outwards and sees how many sides that it connects to. So for instance here we see that there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 block faces open to it. So that means it'll add 9 stability to the structure. If we add it more, we can get more layers, more stability, and more stability basically equates to much more time in the Omega state. The default amount of time is 15 minutes. 15 minutes for 15 million LP and 32k AR, which you can see it drained 2 of the bell jars that we have here. So we have more than enough for 1. Basically allows 15 minutes. Now if we add more stability, it will add it a lot more. So adding surface area to the chamber is basically what you need to do. So if we were to realize this to its maximum size, we can see that there's 9, 18, 36 in total, and then we can have 4 layers. Why is it 4 layers? Basically, this block expands out 5 in total. 1, 2, 3, 4, then the wall 5. So basically a 4 interior. You can see 4 in here, so that's basically 36 times 4. I'm not going to do the math right now because that'd be Stocky of me, and I don't have my calculator handy. Amazing what higher education will do. It will basically give you the tools to do a lot of complex math, however you can't do simple multiplication. But you also have to remember there's the floor and the ceiling also, and they factor in the calculation. So wherever this air block meets, when it expands outwards, if it doesn't go past the 5 block limit, i.e. if the chamber was like this, it wouldn't actually work. It has to be like this. As soon as an air block reaches the 5 block limit away from the Master Ritual Stone, it will say, nope, this chamber isn't complete, and therefore is a dud. Therefore, you're not going to go into the Mega State like that, Sally. It will be a wasted endeavor. So obviously, building it out of stone blocks is not what you want to do. What you're going to need to do to power up your Omega structure is to create glyphs that will stabilize this structure even more. So let's see. The first glyph we're going to look at is the glyph of rigid stability. The glyph of rigid stability adds a lot more stability per face basically touching the structure. If it's part of the structure, i.e. if the air block touches it some way, then it's going to add stability. The stability added for the block is 2 stability per face that's touching. So a normal block would add 1. However, if you use a much more expensive block, I mean this is actually pretty expensive, you will get 2 per block face touching. So that means if we were to have something like this instead in our structure, and if it was like at its logical limit, this block would have 2 block faces touching it. So that means we would have 4 stability added from this single block, which is quite a bit of stability added. Now we can expand it further. We can make our entire building made of this stuff, and we can get a much higher stability. Higher stability adds a lot more time duration to our Omega armor. So let's actually build a simple rectangle out of all these stability blocks. And lightning, I am going to call you when you're needed. Thank you very much. So here we have a simple structure here. It's just basically a big old rectangular prism with a bunch of glass so we can see inside it. We have our jars here. In fact, might as well replace these so I have a bit extra leeway. And we have as much LP as we need to activate this. So as you can see, if we activate this and stand around doing nothing whatsoever, nothing's going to happen. So we have to open it, or rather close it, and make sure that the lightning strikes midnight. Come on. There we go. And we have entered our state. And you'll probably notice if I were to set this so that it's 30 minutes, which is kind of bad, it does take a lot longer for our reagent bar over in our corner to dissipate. So this is going to last a lot longer so you can kick a bit more butt. Now obviously it wouldn't be very fun if this armor was basically just N tier awesome, has extra HP, sure, has a timer, kind of sucks really. So why would you want to do this? Well, it depends on where you are. Here we have a great big ocean here. We have a river, and then when we go out, when we're in the river and ocean, we have a lot more HP. And another thing is, you'll notice I'm slowly regenerating health, which seems a little odd considering all I'm doing is standing in water. If I get out of water, the regeneration goes away, which is weird. But if I step back into it, and if my health is high enough, or rather low enough, if my max HP is high enough, I'll start regenerating HP. This is because while I'm in this water Omega armor, I actually regen health while I am in water. So water is my domain while I'm in this armor. And better yet, the ocean is my saving grace, because while I'm in the ocean, I have a lot more health, and I also have a lot more damage on my armor. Plus 12%, plus 21%, plus 24%, plus 15%. I think that's around 80%. I'm not going to do the math. Once again, I am a noob, and that is not my vocation right now. And you can see that this added amount, well, it'd make me a lot more difficult to kill, even if you were to get past my reagent health bar over here. Now, obviously, when I go back onto the dry land, all this added HP just drops back down to the normal additional 3 hearts. However, it matters when you're in there. So if you were to fight someone else while they are in Omega armor, you have to make sure that you're using the right armor. And am I still in the beach? Apparently I am. Eventually it's going to reset back to the 3 hearts. It seems to be lagging slightly. Let's help it along. Yeah, I'll come back. So, there we go. That's water Omega armor. And it seems like it is a very good thing to have when you're in the ocean. Now, obviously, that's not the only thing you can do with Omega armor, so let's tell you how we actually improve the bloody thing. Now, obviously, this armor wouldn't be very useful if we were to just have it as the base 90% protection. So, to help with that, we need to add enchantments to our armor. But enchantments are a very volatile creation. Bound armor normally does not like being enchanted because the Demon Soul never had such Minecraftian magic placed on it, and it's very much volatile to it. Now, we can tame this Demon Soul and tell it to realize that these enchantments are actually a good thing. Now, these do unfortunately lower the stability of it, but it does just take 2 simple blocks in order to do. We have the Glyph of the Adept Enchanter. This glyph adds enchantment, the enchantability to it. So for instance, leather has a low enchantability, and gold has a much higher enchantability. For each block added here, we can add 1 enchantability to the structure. So let's add an enchantability of 9. Now we also have the Glyph of the Arcane Potential. This glyph adds an enchantment level. So when you have the enchanting table, you can select which level of enchantments you want, say 1 to 30, and this adds enchantment levels to it. So if we add 9 into it, we can add an enchantment level of 9 to whatever we have here. But the problem with these, as I said, it decreases the stability. Every single block I add of these decreases it by 10, I believe, whereas every block I add of these decreases it by 20. I'm going to have to double check the numbers on that. Yep, that is 10 and 20 respectively. The thing that you have to note, though, is that this stability reduction is per face of this glyph. So if you were to, for instance, place it somewhere like here instead, 1, 2, 3 faces are touching the chamber surface area, meaning that it would be a deduction of 60 whole stability. And considering that each face of this adds only 2, just this alone means that you need to have 10 to offset it. In fact, I'm not even confident that this type of ritual will be able to go through. If I stand here for a few seconds, it actually went through. Huh. Well, I ate my words and ate 32,000 incendium. And let's look at our armor. We got Protection 2, Protection 1, Unbreaking 2, and Unbreaking 1. Not the best enchantments. We didn't have a high enchantability, and we didn't have a high enchantment level applied. However, it does show we are able to add protection to our armor, which further increases the protection abilities of this armor. So times that day. So I'll just showcase the fire armor for a bit, and then I'll be able to sign this off. There are 2 other armors, the wind and the earth armor. You can probably guess by that tower how the wind armor is increased. So let's go to game mode 1, or rather game mode 0, always good to remember, and you can see that my HP is increased because I'm in a desert. Now, for fire armor, obviously the best place to fight would be in the nether with a much higher increase in the damage. Damage, as you can see over here, and also the HP gained. Now, you should notice quickly that my reagent bar is dropping very quickly, so I just should showcase this quickly. Fire is my friend. I don't have fire protection on right now, but when I step in the fire, it adds fire resistance to the armor. I do this, well, retroactively, so that the fire resistance comes on while you're on fire, so that, well, you don't have particle spam all the time, because particle spam kind of sucks. Now, you get strength and regeneration while you are on fire. The reason for this is because you have to be on fire, therefore your field of view is obstructed. Therefore, a bit of a damage increase as well as regeneration is warranted. However, if you decide to have a nice bath in lava and wait a bit, you can get strength 2 and regeneration 2 on your person for a good 20 seconds. So while you're jumping out, well, the strength 2 is 20 seconds. The regeneration, you kind of have to continue sitting here like a nice refreshing spa. Head has to be buried in the nice, lovely, chilling lava, by the way, or else it won't work. So we get a nice strength boost as well as regeneration while we're in lava. And unfortunately, there is a mild side effect by being well attuned with fire. One of the side effects appears to be my food bar. Much better. So, being so well attuned with fire, water obviously is something you have to avoid. While you're in the ocean, like just the ocean biome, you're going to get debilitating health. So your health is going to drop drastically, which is not good when you're in a fight. And your strength will decrease. You also get other things, such as slowness, weakness, and mining fatigue when you are in water. So, whenever you're fighting someone in fire armor, try to throw some water on them. It might help a bit. Now, obviously, having to refill your reagents so much while you're just sitting around in your base not really using the armor, it's not really a good thing. Well, considering that this armor, it's not supposed to be just willy-nilly wear all the time armor, although eventually when you get strong enough in your demonic invasion, you will be able to do that, but that's another story. So, this brings on the Ritual of the Omega Stalling. Obviously a working name, it will change. This ritual needs to be constructed on a full tier beacon. It will make sure that this beacon is activated and has a full base. Now obviously it doesn't need to be diamond blocks because that's a little ludicrous. It can use iron, gold, whatever the heck it is. Whatever the heck it needs rather. But while this ritual is active, it will drain 5000 LP per second from the user. Considering that takes 15 mil LP for 15 minutes, it could be worthwhile. You have to do your math there. So, it's something to consider. If you want to have a nice base where if you're getting enough LP you have some to burn, you could keep your armor on indefinitely by stalling the Omega state, feeding your energy by the power that comes from the beacon, which for some reason loves to make it rain. Now obviously this is a bit expensive of a ritual, so it's basically up to you to decide whether you want to have basically unbeatable protection. So that basically wraps up what I'm going to say about the Omega rituals as well as the Project Omega for now. So obviously I left out quite a few things to do, especially on how to make the best possible system here. This chamber obviously isn't the best. I want you guys to figure out the mechanics of this and try to get the best ritual, or rather chamber, to augment your armor. You have to obviously decide whether you want a really strong armor that will last only for a bit, or armor that's basically diamond level with enchantments, although lasts a very long time. You also have to decide whether it's worthwhile for you to invest in the LP to make sure that your armor will stay active for much longer. Now obviously this armor is still a bit of a work in progress. I will be constantly adding new abilities and toys for the various armor sets that I will have available. I only have 4 armor sets, but considering how many reagents there currently are in the mod, I think you can pretty much think of it from there. Well, that's all the time we have for this episode of Blood Magic Developer Commentaries. If you like what you see, don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe to future episodes. WayofTime here, signing off. Have a wonderful day.